How's it going, Rogues Gallery? 3 of the Bright Lights heroes have now officially been revealed, and so I figured now was a great time to talk about them and all of the surrounding spoilers. Most of them are expansion slot spoilers, including the card that I spoiled. You can kind of even see it here. And yeah, let's just talk about it. I wanted to wait till we had enough cards to make this a proper, like, video where there's actual substance to it. So let's kick it off with the heroes. Obviously, if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe. It all helps, and we're gunning for 20K this year. We're really close. We're getting there. I don't know if we're gonna actually hit it, so any and all support is more than appreciated. Also, there's links down below, you know, Discord, Patreon, all that good stuff. Anyway, let's talk about Dash. So this is Dash Database. And first of all, I think this art is incredible. I think it has huge lore implications. It also reminds me both of Ghost in the Shell and Serial Experiments Lane, which are both incredible. And I think the card is also really, really good. So Dash Database is a young mechanologist hero with 18 health and 4 life. We can surmise that Dash IO is likely just the adult version of this card, similar to how Prism was in Dusk Till Dawn, right? They had different names, and that just might be something that LSS is doing now for the heroes, especially heroes that already had previous versions. Like, we already had a Dash, and so now we need a different name for the Dash. Anyway, let's talk about what the card actually does. So it says, you may look at the top card of your deck at any time, and that reminds me of some of my favorite cards in card gaming history. I literally have a reality chip commander deck that functions like this. Basically, what this kind of effect is there's a card in Magic the Gathering called Future Sight. There's also a set called Future Sight, but there's a card called Future Sight, which is an enchantment that lets you look at the top card of your deck at any time, and then you can play that card, which is kind of what this does. It's not as good as Future Sight, but it kind of does that. So it says, once per turn, you may play a Mechanologist item with cost 0 or 1 from the top of your deck as though it were an instant. It costs an additional resource to play. So it actually makes those more expensive, but you can play it as an instant, and it's once per turn, not just like once on your turn. It's once per turn. So, like, this is great. Obviously, in kind of like a 1v1 setting, you can play an item on your turn, you can play an item on your opponent's turn. But what's really, really cool about this is that in Ultimate Pit Fight, you can play this on every single player's turn as it goes around. So I think that's really cool, and I think this makes it so, like, any sort of deck manipulation, stacking the top of your deck or anything like that becomes that much more valuable. So when they print more of these type of effects, in fact, I can't really think of too many that do that off the top of my head, it makes Dash IO like that much more spicy. So I think this card's cool. Obviously, it really wants you to play items. Items have an inherent downside in Flesh and Blood in that they don't block, right? So, you know, you have that inherent downside. I expect to see a lot of new items in Bright Lights, so we'll have to see. Cool hero. I am really looking forward to playing this hero in, I don't know. I was going to say in Limited, but I think I'm more excited to play some of the other ones in Limited, to be completely honest, especially the next one we're going to talk about. And then lore-wise, I just want to mention that a lot of folks are like, oh, does this mean that Dash is a robot? And I'm like, I don't know. I think the figure on the left is Date-It-All, or at least some form of Date-It-All, because you can see, like, the robotic body, and you can kind of see how, like, the face is giving way to what kind of looks like Date-It-All, and also the hair swoop looks like Date-It-All's, like, robotic hair swoop thing. But I also think this could be Dash just, like, doing something akin to, like, the Wraith version of, like, net running, right? She's, like, you know, hopping into the Matrix or net running or whatever. So I think it's cool. I think it's cool, and I really want to know more about the lore surrounding this. All right, next hero is Max Nitro. I should also mention that this card was spoiled by Max Ferocity. You should go watch the video. It was really cool, and she is a good friend of the channel. Similarly, this one was spoiled by 3 Floating. Also consider them friends of the channel, and so definitely go watch the video. It's really cool, as you would expect from folks with, like, Hollywood background, right? Like, they've got the video chops, and they had it on full display there. So Max Nitro is a new character. He's a mechanologist young hero. This one has 20 health. And it says, once per turn action for 2 resources, create a hyperdriver token with 2 steam counters. Activate this only if you boosted this turn. So this is the boost matters hero for Bright Lights. We had Database, which is the Item Matters hero. Then we have Max Nitro, which is the Boost Matters hero. And then we have Teklovasen, which is the Evo Matters hero. So you can kind of see the archetypes that they're setting up for Bright Lights, especially for Limited. He basically creates hyperdrivers every time you boost if you pay 2 resources, only once per turn. But he also has a second ability that says hyperdrivers you control get Crank. And here we get the first, we see what Crank does. It says, as it enters the arena, you may remove a Steam counter from it. If you do, gain an action point, which is really interesting. I think you got to be really careful when you give things go again or action points in Flesh and Blood. I think they've learned a lot from cards like Luminaris and Voltaire, but we'll see how powerful this Crank mechanic ends up being. But I think it seems pretty cool. It's not super busted on Max Nitro here because it's only a once per turn thing when you can get these hyperdrivers. And so basically it lets you get your hyperdriver, remove a counter from it, and then that gets go again. So then you can, do more stuff, boost, get resources, all that kind of stuff. It really feels like this hero kind of wants you to set up for a really big turn rather than kind of popping off by himself, because he costs 2 resources to get the hyperdriver, and then hyperdrivers give you resources whenever you boost. You can remove let's see if there's a hyperdriver. Yeah, here we go. Here's a hyperdriver token. Once per turn, when you boost, you can remove a Steam counter and gain a resource, right? So basically this is a situation where you can set up for a future turn where you can just gain a whole bunch of resources by like piling up hyperdrivers. Though they only, they sit around, right? They sit around. It is like noted that it's not a May. It's like when you boost, remove a Steam counter and gain. It's not a May from the hyperdriver, so you can't like stack up too many because you can only create the hyperdrivers when you boost with Max Nitro's ability. So I don't know. It feels pretty good. This is one that I actually really want to play in Limited. This one seems really, really fun in Limited. You boost and you create these hyperdrivers and you just kind of go all aggro. I dig it. So I think this is going to be really fun to play in Limited. Obviously, we have Teklovasen, Esteemed Magnate, and just regular old Teklovasen. Well, young Teklovasen. I guess this one's the old Teklovasen. They do the same thing. So Teklovasen, this is the majestic version of it. I assume the adult version of Max Nitro and the adult version of Dash they both have majestic versions as the adult versions. We haven't seen them yet, but that's what I'm just going to assume. Teklovasen says you may play Evos from your banner zone. So it kind of cares about boost too, because if you boost away your Evos, then you can play them from your banner zone, which is sweet. And then it says once per turn instant for 3 resources, you may play your next Evo this turn as though it were an instant when you do draw a card. Oh, sweet. I really like Teklovasen as well. I think Teklovasen's seems like he's really, really fun. Wants you to boost all your Evos away, and then you can play them at instant speed, and when you do, draw a card. Cool. I dig it quite a bit. We also have all of the proto base pieces. These are all tokens. So in Limited, you just kind of get access to these. And these are the things that you upgrade into your Evo pieces. So you have like your proto base head, and then you upgrade it into your Evo Steel soul memory, basically. And there's going to be a bunch of these, obviously. We also have your Evo Steel soul memory. I've talked about these in previous videos, so we're going to go through like these pretty quickly. So I mean, like, they're really cool. I think they're really interesting. They block really well, because Temper isn't just like you get a block twice. Temper is if it has 0 defense, you destroy it. So this actually gets the block for 6, right? Because it blocks for 3 and then 2 and then 1. So these block very well, and they also have all these like really sweet effects. Yeah, there's some really cool ones. There's a Terminator Tank, which is a 6 drop. 6 attack, 3 block, but it costs 3 less if you have 2 Evos. By the way, a lot of these Evo Matters cards care about how many Evos you have equipped. So this one says when you have 1 or more Evos equipped, it gets, when this hits a hero, they discard a card. That seems really sweet. And if you have 2 or more Evos, it costs 3 less. If you have 3 more Evos, it gets overpower. If you have 4 more, it gets +3. So if you have 4 Evos equipped, this is a 3 drop, 9 attack overpower. When it hits your opponent, they discard a card. Seems really good. Teklovasen seems like he wants to maybe boost a little bit to get Evos in the banner zone so you can play them for free. And then you want to go tall with your big Evo finishers. Here we have Shriek Razors. This was my spoiler card. If you haven't seen it, hey, go maybe watch the video. I think the video is really fun. And it my Might be one of my favorite ones that I've done so far. But Shriek Razors itself, I think, is actually really cool. I think it might be a little underrated right now. It's one of those cards that, like, it has a direct comparison because you're like, oh, is it better than Flick Knives? I don't know. I don't know. I think the big difference between Shriek Razors and Flick Knives is that Shriek Razors helps you get your on-hit effects through, where Flick Knives is just like, hey, here's some raw damage, which is good. Flick Knives is incredibly good. What I really like about Shriek Razors, and something that I haven't actually talked about regarding the card yet, is the threat of activation, because your opponent sees this sitting on board, and then they have to play around it, right? They have to block, maybe assuming that you're going to activate Shriek Razors, and you can just be like, no, I don't activate it. Cool. Nothing happens. And so, like, it could actually force your opponent to block in inefficient ways, right? Where if you're attacking with something like a shakedown or a surgical extraction, they're like, oh, I need to overblock this just in case they activate their Shriek Razors. Yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's really cool. I don't think it's like a automatic slam dunk over Flick Knives, but I also don't think Flick Knives is always an automatic slam dunk over Shriek Razors. I think there's like discussion to be had. I think you should try them out. Very, very likely that Flick Knives is just the better option, but I think Shriek Razors is worth giving a shot. Especially against, like, you know, the full physical decks that use a lot of attack actions. Cool card. Already Dead, I think, is insane. I think this is a windmill full playset slam dunk in every assassin deck. It's just so good. There's a 2 for 6, 3 block assassin attack action with contract. You're contracted to banish your opponent's non-action cards. So like reactions or equipment, basically. It says whenever you complete this contract, you get a silver. When it hits a hero, banish the top card of their deck and a defending card. So this eats equipment. It is so sweet. It eats equipment and also like defense reactions and stuff. But obviously this card is insane in Uzuri, but I think it's actually pretty sweet in Arachne as well. Being a 6 block or a 6 attack is really, really good because it helps against those illusionist matchups, specifically currently Dromai. And just it's sweet. Also Omewa Mo Shinderu, my dude. Next up, we have Smashing Performance. I think this card is interesting, and I really like the design space of this card. I know a lot of Brute players don't like it because it's not strictly better than a bunch of other cards, and it's not like crazy overpowered, and it's not a blue and whatever. Like, there's obviously ways that it can make any card better. I mean, you can make Already Dead a 2 for 7. I'd be pretty stoked about that. But, you know, there's a reason why this isn't a blue. What I like about the card isn't necessarily its effect. I like the design space here. I love it when developers for card games do these kind of things where they give you options for your deck that are clear, like Hate Bear or sideboardy type options, and I think that leaves design space open for future things, but also gives you reasons to potentially run this in a deck if certain heroes are prevalent or a problem in the meta, which they could be. I don't know. We've seen the 3 new heroes now basically, and I don't know. I feel that Teklevossen and Max Nitro feel they actually all kind of feel strong in their own ways. Teklevossen being able to draw cards and play things at instant speed seems pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, I love the ability. I love that this gets to destroy items, and I think that's might be relevant going forward in the future. Also, I love the flavor of this card. I love that it references deathmatch. I did a whole video on this talking about why I think this hints at an upcoming set called Deathmatch that I think is going to be an arena combat, you know, battle royale set that has like all the heroes, like all the classes in it, and they're like fighting to the death in the arena. I think that'd be super cool. And I think that might be what they're hitting at here. But just like as a card, I think it's obviously like a sideboard card, right? It's specifically against cards that have items, and yeah, it's a 6 attack. Why is it better than like Smashing Good Time or I don't know, the other one that's just like Arg Smash or whatever? It's because it's a 6 attack, and Arg Smash is not a 6 attack, and you get all your 6 attack synergies. That's why you would run this over Arg Smash. So I don't know. Brute players, let me know what you think. I know some people are pretty iffy on it, but just generally speaking, in terms of design philosophy, I really like what they're doing with it. Here we have Wax Off, which is a really, really interesting card. It's one of those situations where I'm like, Wax On's not that great, and it's a pretty situational card. Wax Off, if you play it with Wax On, is pretty good because it's a defense reaction that if you played Wax On this turn, you create a Zen State Zen State token, which is really good. So this effectively blocks for 3 because the Zen State will absorb 1 of the damage as well. But it's also one of those situations where that means you have to play with Wax On. And Wax On's not a great card. So it's like, should you play bad cards to make 1 card playable? I don't know. The design deck building philosophy that I typically have is don't play bad cards to make your medium cards good or whatever. So something like that. And I'm not sure on Wax Off, but I think it's cool, and I think if you can pull it off, it's a big deal. So it might be enough of an upside that you play it because the Zen State token is pretty sweet. But then again, you have to play with Wax Ons. Maybe you're just doing fatigue, but I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. Do we have the Zen State token here to show? We do not. It basically absorbs 1 damage from every single attack, and then it goes away after a couple turns. Here we have Emboldened Blade. Cool artwork. Really interesting card. I think it's pretty good on a lot of different levels. It's a 0 cost warrior action with 3 block. Has Go Again. It says turn a face down card in any arsenal face up. If it's a defense reaction, destroy it. And your next weapon attack this turn gains +1. First of all, love it in UPF because you can do it to any player, which is sweet. And also, it gives you information, which I think is really cool. And I think it's really good in Warrior, where you really care about them having D-reacts and then blocking out your weapon attacks. So, especially in Dorinthia. So yeah, I think this card's sweet. I think a lot of Warrior players are going to love this card. It's a 0 blue that blocks 3. So it's just like well statted. Getting that +1 isn't as important as like the information, I think. The +1's pretty good though too. But getting that information is just really, really good, and then potentially destroying a defense reaction. Yeah, I think this card's cool. Sweet. I think people are gonna love this card and probably play with it. Next up, we have Intoxicating Shot. Another really, really interesting card. Really, really good statted. It's a 0 for 4, block 3 that is a blue pitch, which is, I think, the best statted arrow currently in terms of blue pitch. However, the effect is a little like hit and miss. So it's a Riptide specialization, and it says when it hits a hero, they create a Courage and a Quicken token. So you give your opponent a Courage token and a Quicken token. But what that does is it turns on a lot of your traps. It turns on like some of your best traps, right? So like Collapsing Trap, any trap that cares about the attack being pumped up or having Go Again, which is a lot of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So yeah, it's interesting. It's really good if you have the traps in your hand. It's really bad if you don't. But luckily, the devs were smart and made it a blue pitch card. So even if you don't have the traps in hand, hey, you can still pitch it to do other stuff. I think if this was a yellow or a red, it would be really, really bad. But because it's a blue, I think it's like pretty sweet. So yeah, cool card. Next up, we have Sonata Phantasmia, which I think is also a very, very cool card. And I think it plays into a particular strategy. So it is a XX cost, blue pitch, 3 block, Rune Blade action. This is a Viscerai specialization. It says create X rune chant tokens, and if X is 6 or greater, target hero discards 3 random cards, which is absolutely insane. And the way that you get X to be 6 is you have to pitch 12. So like this has to be in your arsenal, and then you need like 4 blues in your hand, or like E-pots or some other way to get a lot of resources. So it's going to be really difficult to set up, but if you do, you get 6 rune chants and your opponent has to discard three cards at random, which I think is really, really good. Obviously, I think this lends itself to that OTK style Viscerai deck, which hasn't really been a thing since Bloodsheath Skeleton got like the axe. So we'll see if it makes a resurgence. Other than that, it's like to get 3 of them, you'd have to pitch 6, which is like really bad. Read the runes, but the upside is like really, really good. The low side's like really bad. Upside really good. But it's also a 3-block blue pitch card. So I don't know. This is cool. As someone who actually really, really loves the OTK Viscerai deck, I think this is cool. And I want to see this played, and I want this to be good. I just don't know if the shell is there yet. But it definitely looks like they're trying to give that style of deck more tools, which is cool. We have another card called Contest the Minefield, which has some of the coolest art in the set. Like, I really think my Shriek Razors card looks like absolutely badass, and I really like themed my spoiler around it because this looks like a grindhouse horror film kind of vibe. But this one just looks so cool. I love the fact that the character doesn't have a head, but the head is on like this like masquerade mask. I love it. This artist Olga, Not an artist that I know of, but now it's they're an artist that I'm going to very much be paying attention to because I think the art is incredible. So it says, all heroes get -1 intellect at the start of your turn. Destroy this. I think this is hilarious, especially for Ultimate Pit Fight. The fact that this one says all heroes get -1 intellect means that you will also be drawing one less card at the end of your turn. So you're only going to draw 3 cards on the turn that you play this. But I don't know. Wizard players, let me know what you think about this in the competitive scene. I don't know. In Ultimate Pit Fight, I think this card is awesome. So I think this is one of the cards I see this. I'm like, ooh, awesome UPF tech. Really cool. Next up, we have Tome of Imperial Flame. I think a lot of Dromai players think this card is insane, and I will defer to them. I don't really play a lot of Dromai these days, and this looks really, really good. It's a 0-cost Draconic action with Go Again. You get a draw card. If you're Royal, you draw 2 cards instead. So 0-cost, draw 2 cards, Go Again. Sounds insane, but it does have a downside. You may pitch 2 red cards if you don't banish your hand. So basically what this does is you draw 2 cards, and then you have to immediately pitch 2 red cards. That sounds like it's bad. It sounds like a draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards thing, which is actually just a good effect in general. But why this is so great in Dromai is you pitch 2 red cards and then you have 2 ash. So this card basically kind of like filters through your hand, but also makes you ash positive and also makes it so you have played a red card for the turn to give all your dragons Go Again. So I think this card is just obviously incredible in Dromai. It lets you set up for really, really big explosive turns, pitch cards that you don't need, get cards that you do need, get the ash. Pardon me, get the Go Again on your dragons. But hey, you can also play this in Fi and the Emperor. All right. Next up, we have Warband of Bologna. This is a light warrior equipment, but it might as well just be a Bolton specialization. I think this card is really, really sweet for Bolton. I wish this card wasn't a once kind of deal, but hey, maybe that would be too powerful. So this is a 2-block with Temper. Action for 2 resources. Why does it cost 2 resources? Destroy this. The next time you attack this turn, you may charge your hero's soul. If a yellow card is charged this way, draw a card, Go Again. This should just cost nothing. Bolton, to throw Bolton a bone, dude. Like, it costs 2. I guess you could pitch a blue and then do this and also like take flight or something. But like, this is the kind of effect that I think Bolton really needs more of. Where like, if you charge, you get a draw card. Because the charge mechanic is so hand intensive, and it's one of the reasons why Bolton honestly just doesn't really do great, because he just needs cards, and Flesh and Blood is a game that's really card intensive because all your cards are your defensive options as well as your resources as well as what you're trying to accomplish. And so like being 1 card down just to charge is like rough. And so drawing cards from charging seems really good. You can only do this once because you destroy this, and it also costs 2. I think this is still really good for Bolton. Maybe if it was like free, it would be too good. Maybe if you could do it multiple times, it would be too good. I don't know. But I think it's cool. And the art is gorgeous. Soyme, one of my favorites. So yeah, that's sweet. Notably, another legendary in the expansion slot. So we have actually 3 legendaries in the expansion slot. We have Shriek Razors, we have Warband of Bologna, and then we also have Fiandel Spring Tunic. Now, I don't know about Tunic. Probably just going to be not foil at all. But I do know, because I asked, that Shriek Razors does come in rainbow foil and cold foil. And I would imagine that Warband of Bologna is the same. It probably has a regular rainbow foil version and then this extended art cold foil, just like we had cards in Dusk Till Dawn. Next up, we have the Protocols, which I think are all pretty good. They're all pretty good. They all kind of do something different. The blue one is really sweet. They all cost 3. They all block for 3, and then they have the red, yellow, blue kind of attack. So like, we have a 5 attack, we have the 6 attack, and we have the 7 attack, and they all have a different effect. They're basically like a pseudo cycle here, or just a straight up cycle. So Eva upgrade, the defending hero must defend this with X equipment they control, or with -1 counters, where X is the number of Evos you have equipped. So this is actually great at destroying like temper cards that they've already blocked with, which is kind of funny. It also makes it so they can't block with like 0 block cards. It has to be ones with -1 counters on them. I think this card is pretty cool. Also, it's blue, right? Obviously really good with your boy Teklovas in here. Next up, we have the Pulse Wave Protocol, which kind of acts like Pulse Wave Harpoon. It says when it attacks a hero, they reveal X cards from their hand, where X is the number of Evos you have equipped. Choose an action card with defense less than X, then add it to the chain link as a defending card. So if you have 4 equipped, obviously you get to look at 4 cards and then pick one that has defense less than 4, so you can pick a 3 block, which I think is really sweet. Just rip their best cards out of their hand. Great card here. And then we also have Demolition Protocol, which is definitely like a sideboard tech card against other mechanologists. That says when it attacks a hero, remove all steam counters from up to X equipment items and or weapons they control, where X is the number of evos you have equipped. So it's just, you know, anti-steam tech. Yeah, sideboard card. But it is a 3 for 7, block 3, which is just really, really good stats. We've seen people run these stats on vanilla cards before, so we'll see if it makes the cut, but I think it's interesting. Good stats, you know, sideboard effect. All right, we only have a couple more cards left here. So we have the Teklo base pieces. I don't know what rarity these are. They might be just rare or like uncommon or just common or something, because we already know the proto base pieces are tokens. These are ones that you can draft, and the only difference is that these ones have 1 defense and blade break, so you can actually block with these. Whereas these ones, you literally can't do anything with them. They exist solely to be upgraded into the Evo pieces. And then we have Teklo Leveler. We also don't know what rarity this is. It could be a token. It could be, you know, rare majestic, because all we see here is promo. It says if you have 1 or more Evos equipped, this gets once per turn action for 3 attacks. So even if you have no Evos, this doesn't do anything. So this is obviously an Evo matters weapon. It says 2 or more, this costs 2 less to activate, so it only costs 1 to activate, which is great. 3 or more, it gets go again, and then 4 or more, it gets +1. So if you have 4 Evos equipped, this is a 1 cost, 3 attack, go again weapon. It's pretty good. I think in limited, this will be really, really good. In constructed, I think it might be. Pardon me. I think it might be good. And then, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. You need 4. You need all 4 Evos equipped. And then once you have all 4 Evos equipped, you can do even more crazy stuff, because we have seen some Evo shenanigans stuff from the Round the Table product. And these Evo stuff can do work. So I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see if this is worth it at all. Anyway, we have Heavy Artillery as our last card. This was it's a full cycle. Once again, we don't know the rarity of this. I would guess common or rare. Well, obviously it's common or rare. I think it's probably going to be common. But so it's a 3 attack, 3 block, or 3 cost, 3 block, 6 attack Evo upgrade. It's got the full cycle, so it's just got the 4, 5, and then 6 Evo upgrade. The defending hero can't defend this with attack action cards with cost less than X, where X is the number of Evos you have equipped. So it's just really evasive, which I think is really cool. The art on this is actually absolutely insane for Flesh and Blood. Like, I know there's like, I'm not sure what the right word is, like the lore dissonance or something between like Heavy Artillery and then like Reyna, but like this is in the same world as this. And that's kind of crazy to me. I do get it. We do see this in other properties and stuff, but just this art in particular looks like something out of like Armored Core, right? Or it looks like something out of Metal Gear Solid. And then it's like Metal Gear Solid meets like, you know, Elder Scrolls. So I still think it's really cool. I do like the dichotomy of it. I do really want to see like these two worlds clash more than anything. So as you know, less of a critique and more of a, hey, show me how the brutes are combating this. Are they just like ripping the barrels off and just like bashing like the nerds, bashing like the Teklo nerds with the barrels of these cannons? Like, I don't know. Show it to me. I want to see the lore. Give me the lore. So yeah, that is our discussion for all of the Bright Lights spoilers so far. Obviously, we're going to do a follow-up and probably going to talk about a lot of these on the Living Legends podcast. So you can hear Az and Bill's reactions to these in particular. I think the heroes are both really cool. Absolutely love the art on both of these. I think the Sam Yang art on Dash is obviously incredible. And then Max Nitro, I think the art is super cool. And the art in the background, I love this like white-haired like street samurai in the background. This is so Cyberpunk or Shadowrun. This is so Shadowrun. I forget Cyberpunk. This is Shadowrun. Yeah, I dig it. I do really dig it. So let me know what you think of all this stuff in the comments down below. Which is your favorite hero? Do you like Dash, Max, or Teklo Vossen the most? Style wise, I mean, I really dig Max's style. Play wise, I think they're all really cool. I actually really like all 3 of these heroes. Like I said, this has Future Sight written all over it, and that's one of my favorite cards in gaming history. Flesh and Blood, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing, devs. You're doing the recurring nightmare stuff. You're doing the Future Sight stuff. And then there's the Leviah, which is basically like Yogg will. So hey, I know my cards. I know my cards. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. Please let me know what you think of all of this in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Hey, join our Discord community. Talk about these cards there. Dash? Max? Nerd?